Should be good to go. I'm going to mute myself.
All right. All right. Well, good evening, and thank you for your interest and attendance in tonight's board meeting. The policy and practices of the WG School Board is to encourage discussion by citizens of subjects related to the management of the district at board meetings. The school board has provided specific time on the agenda as part of listening to public communication, delegations, and petitions. We politely ask that the audience participation be limited specifically to the portion of the agenda titled Communications from the Public, unless otherwise invited by the board. We'll call the meeting to order at 6:06 p.m. Can I get a roll call, please?
Ashley Brandt,
Yes.
David Elliott,
Yes.
Troy Jansen,
Yes.
Dan Behrens,
Yes.
Tim Bogardus.
Yes.
Sounds like we might have a couple slight edits to the agenda.
Yeah, I'd like to table 6G Roman numeral 4, which is second reading of Board Policy 507.2, administration of medication, as well as 6H as in Henry, Roman numeral 8 and 9, which are a couple of exhibits. And in talking with Christy Dunleavy, I think we need to do a better job of capturing how we go about getting parent permission through the use of Infinite Campus. And so just a couple of words, but I just didn't want to have second reading because it goes into immediate action and implementation. And I want to get it right first time.
Can you repeat those, Matt?
Yeah, 6G Roman numeral 4, which is 5, and 6H Roman numeral 8 and 9.
Got it.
I think it'll be 2 words, but we'll get it.
Better safe than sorry.
Yeah.
Any other questions on the agenda? I see a motion to approve.
I move that the WG Board of Education approve the agenda for the public hearing regular meeting on Monday, May 11th, 2020 with the following changes. We're going to remove 6G Roman numeral number 4 and 6H Roman numeral 8 and 9.
I'll second.
Motion by Sam, seconded by Tim. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Raise. All right. And any questions on the previous minutes? Okay, I just need a motion to approve.
I'll move that the WG Board of Education approve the minutes from the meetings on April 6th, 2020 and April 23rd, 2020 as presented.
Second.
A motion by Dave, seconded by Troy. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carried. All right. So we'll discuss the public hearing to amend the 1920 budget. This is the time and place for the public hearing and meeting on the matter to amend the 2019-2020 district budget. Have there been any written correspondence filed by any resident or patron of the district regarding the amending of the district budget?
No.
Are there any oral objections or comments from anybody that's there or online?
No.
Okay. Well, then at this time, we will declare the time for receiving oral and written comments to be closed at 6:09 p.m. All right. So let's move on to the discussion agenda. It looks like we've got Todd from the mayor of Woodward joining us. Matt, you want to tee this one up?
Let me tee the ball up for him. So for the last several weeks, Todd, and well, quite frankly, since the beginning of the school year, I've really enjoyed my monthly conversations with both mayors from our communities. About the last month, Todd has an opportunity that I think is pretty exciting for the city of Woodward, and I think it's exciting for the school district, and that's a proposed housing development in Woodward. Obviously, proposed housing development brings a lot of different challenges, and I'll tell you what, he's been hustling for the last month trying to solve those challenges. We've had a lot of conversations. I think the school could potentially play a role in some of the solutions that he's coming up with. I like partnerships. I like partnerships when both parties can achieve their own goals and some mutual goals. And so he's here to tell us the story tonight. Todd.
Well, first, a few quick thank yous, especially Dr. Adams. Like you said, we've had a lot of conversations. You've put up with a lot of dialect from me, and I do appreciate it. To the school board, thank you for hearing me tonight. I know that you have had a very busy few months. To be honest, I'd rather be where I am than in any one of your shoes at this point. And lastly, Mr. Elliott, for being online at our last meeting and picking up kind of some of what we were doing and bringing it forward. So thank you. As Dr. Adams said, about 4 months ago, we were approached by a developer who was looking at the property directly south of your softball fields. During our conversations, as we looked at his initial plan, he asked about the current Siglin fields, where our youth play softball and baseball. And when we started to look at the plan, it really made a lot of sense to talk about selling those fields. It brings the street all the way through the development. It also gives about 12 lots to that area, which if you look at the tax revenue, TIF dollars, we're being asked to pay for a lift station between $450,000 and $500,000. It really became more and more evident we needed to look at that. One of the things I promised the community when I first started this is that our youth would have a place to play. That was a guarantee that I made to the community, and I intend to honor that. With that being said, I thought I had a very good solution last week. We looked at some property that was at the end of Locust, the street next to your football stadium that goes up there and dead ends to the east. Friday, I received bad news that they rejected our offer and no longer would even consider any counter offers from us. The other thing that I told Dr. Adams is I found that getting any property that it basically is inside of Woodward city limits is becoming a very, very hard thing to do. Either the owners are, I think, waiting for development so the land value goes up, or they're just unwilling to sell. So I still got another piece of property that I am working on. Again, I have been brainstorming, and another idea that I would like to throw out to the council is the possibility of sharing your fields and us bringing some financial gain, I guess I'll call it, to the Woodward School District to be able to do that. I think while I couldn't solve what I'd hoped was an issue for you up at the football stadium, maybe this brings a chance to resolve some issues down around the high school if we provided some money and dollars towards that. So that's kind of where I've drop landed, I guess, for lack of a better term. I'm asking for any of your considerations in partnering to try and make this a reality. And with that, I guess I'll take any questions.
So when you say share our fields, what does that look like to you? What does that agreement sound like?
And actually, I don't have, any set per se ideas. I think it would involve Dr. Adams, Mr. Eichhorn, us sitting down and discussing what that looks like. But basically, your 12 and under softball players need a place to play. It would still be your fields. I'm not, would not strive to say that we have any ownership of any facility that you currently own. Simply a shared agreement. Like I said, with us bringing money to the table, actually, hopefully for improvements there or your foot, I mean, whatever athletics we could support with some dollars. You know, I realize it'd be a scheduling issue, but I do know you share your football field, the wrestling room, basically all your facilities. You've done a great job of sharing with the community. And to be honest, these are girls who are your future ball players. I mean, they're not somebody from out of the district, out of the state. It's really your future girls who are looking to play softball for Woodward Granger.
Just so I understand where these fields are located, I'm kind of looking at a map here, but this would be directly south of the school, roughly block and a half. There's those two fields that sit right there. Is that correct?
Yes, your high school field, Sam.
The high school fields would be a little bit more to the west, or the Little League fields that are directly to the south?
Correct.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, the fields we're contemplating selling are the two smaller fields that would be to the east of your high school girls' fields.
Gotcha.
And
My
assuming-
concern,
Oh, go ahead, Sam.
my concern is I know we run it that time of year. There's all these kids. You got little kids from 6 years old up to high school, all fighting over these these fields for play time and practice times. And you got games. I mean, it's a struggle wherever you go for these fields. And my biggest concern is just trying to find time to share these with all these groups that need to get basically on two fields, if I'm right. Or is there another one over by the stadium or by the football field too? That's my big concern, is getting the practice times and game times for all those different age levels.
And in talking to Trent Fleschner, Sam, who's a
Mhm.
big involved in the programs,
Sure.
he indicated really in his eyes, like 8 and under could play up at our T-ball fields, which we still have up by your football stadium. This was really more the 12, 14 age bracket that really it's time to get on a bigger field. So it would not be the actual very younger group set, Sam, that I'm looking at.
Okay. I just know I've been over there with some of my kids, and a lot of my kids were younger, and we played on one of those fields. So, more baseball than probably softball.
Yep.
Has Icorn weighed in at all on the potential of scheduling a shared field, Matt?
Well, this is actually an audible that Todd called this morning, as he got that
Oh.
news on Friday.
Yeah.
I told him that's been the story of my life for the last 6 weeks, changing.
Oh, we
Changing
do,
plans.
yeah.
Yeah. So there was an original idea of adding a third field. And I know that Dave Smeltzer and Matt Icorn met out there and kind of talked about the feasibility of that. When the direction started shifting more towards that land south of the football stadium, I'll be frank, that sounded like a great solution. I think, Dave, when you heard that presentation, you're kind of getting on board as well. I said to Todd, that would probably be where I would like to see the district spend their energy. And it was a great solution. So this is kind of new as of today. So we would definitely, I don't quite understand the whole scope of the youth programming to be able to speak to the ability to schedule, but definitely I'd need Matt's eyes on this.
And actually, I have talked to Matt previously and asked when I thought we were going to build, or there's still a possibility we'd build somewhere, about, that we may need 1 year where we had to share. And he indicated he thought that could work. So I guess, in my eyes, basically, if two organizations want something to work bad enough, it can work. Again. So yeah, I guess that's my ask.
And, I don't know that I speak for everybody, but I speak for me when I say I'm all about trying to make that partnership. I think where Sam's coming from is, especially here in Granger, we've heard a lot of noise about the struggle to get practice facility, whether it be for ball fields or basketball court time. It's just been a really hot topic conversation. So by no means take my questions as I'm not willing to support, because I definitely am. We've just heard a lot of conversation about that over the last couple of years. So just want to make sure that we're kind of vetting that out. But I think if we can get that, problem solved, it might not even be a problem. Just kind of have a better understanding of what that shared agreement would look like and what the demand would be. I think that would help us feel comfortable moving forward.
And Sam, maybe you know or don't, but I thought your practice field was fairly open up there, the one field, other than your competition field.
The assumption, the one right by the Catholic Church is, but that ball field is so small. You got kids probably 8, 9s, about as old as you can get them there. And then everybody else has got to use one of the other fields for practice. If the intent for the city is to potentially build new fields or replace these fields in the next year or two, I can probably get behind it and support it, because it's just a short-term thing. We can partner here for a year or two. But I just worry long-term, as our communities continue to grow, it's definitely going to be an issue.
And I'll be very upfront, Sam, that my ultimate goal would be to provide this community a sports complex. I had to have a vision of some soccer fields, softball, baseball, an area we've got, the bike trail coming through. But I'm realistically looking at $500,000 to $750,000 to make that happen. So yes, in the future, Sam, but I don't know that future is 2 years or 5 years or 7 years. Really, this development is a huge prospect for us. The estimate is $13 to $15 million of assessed value if we built the homes that are proposed in that area. And then, yes, Sam, maybe at that point, we get to do something, really nice for the community, what I consider really nice, and partner with the school to do it.
Just want to ask a little bit more about the Locust property. Were the potential sellers bothered by the price offered, or do they have other plans?
I think, Mr. Elliott, we didn't give them a real high offer. We knew that going in, I think, with the hope that they would counter. I will say that once they rejected it, I reached back out to the farm manager who I've been dealing with, and I said, can you go back to them and just say, hey, what is the number? What would it take to do this? The reply that he got back was, no, thank you. We don't care to have any more communication. So that pretty much ended it.
Is that land outside of city limits?
I believe, I can't answer that, Mr. Elliott, to be very honest. I honestly can't. I don't know 100%. But I do believe, like I said, they were looking for probably a 15,000 an acre offer. I mean, I don't know, but it just appears they're sitting there waiting for the city to grow. And then, like every other city, you're going to pay dearly for land that borders your community. That's the kind of reaction I believe that I got.
Well, it sounds like it's a dead issue then. I was hoping maybe, if the school could sweeten the offer a little bit, maybe they'd bite, but it sounds like they're being unrealistic.
Yes, and that's very much what I had hoped, that I could have come tonight and said, hey, by the way, I got a counter offer. Can we work together to make this proposal happen? And they wouldn't even come back to me.
Disappointing.
Yes, it was.
Well, it sounds like we're kind of regrouping after your news that you got on Friday, but I think it's worthwhile to continue this conversation to work with, Dr. Adams and Mr. Icorn on what possibilities could look like. And then when we're ready, maybe bring it back to this group and we can have some more kind of thorough conversations. Does that seem fitting?
I would appreciate that very much.
Yeah.
Todd, is there a time frame you need to get back to? I mean, what's the time frame on your end?
The developer just got an extension, Sam, but I have to make a decision sometime early June. So I've got about a month to really try and figure this out. And like I said, the hit from up on the south end was a kind of a blow. I had high hopes that I would get there with them. So yeah, I'm kind of scrambling at the moment, I guess.
And again, I am supportive of trying to work together. I just want to make sure it's the right decision for everybody when we try to find timing for these kids and practice times and games. It's just a scheduling nightmare, and it'll be tough. But again, I'm not against it, but I just want to make sure we're doing all our legwork to make sure we're making the right decision.
Oh, I agree, Sam. I look forward to conversations with this board's blessing with Dr. Adams, Mr. Icorn, and if it can't be done, it can't be done. I understand it.
And when we booked Todd into this agenda, the story he was going to tell on Friday is just a lot different than the story he's telling today. So by no means did I think we would have enough information today to take any kind of action, or would I ever ask you to take any action. But knowing his tight timeline, I figured we better get the story out and have an opportunity to have a discussion. But I really need to hear from the board. You want me to continue to pursue this with Todd, and we'll certainly bring back the information that you're asking for.
Yeah, I'd say that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm very supportive of working with the situation, but I do agree with Sam. It'd be nice to find a long-term solution and have a shared situation for a short term if possible.
Yeah, as I described what a partnership is, we need to be able to accomplish our own goals outside of this partnership. And so I am not interested in compromising our ability to serve our kids adequately. And they're all our kids, but school programs and whatnot. So, and again, as we grow and long-term, obviously that plays a role in the decision here.
Okay, so it sounds like more to come.
Sounds good.
Thank you again, board, for your time.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Todd. Appreciate the information. Best of luck in trying to get this all figured out. I know it can be really challenging and stressful, so good luck to you. We're wishing success.
Thank you. All righty.
Yeah, you bet. All right, so let's move on. Looks like we're up to the action agenda already. Should we talk about the budget amendment? Luke, do you just want to give a quick kind of definition of this?
Yeah. So back in March, I had talked to you guys about that we're probably going to have to amend the budget. During the whole budget process last year, a few line items may have been missed, overlooked. It's not that we're over budget. It's, as you know, with the unspent balance, we're way under. But there's 4 categories that we have to be within. If not, you have to amend every year. So what came short was the really, I don't think all of these are going to be necessary to amend, but since we're here and we're doing it, I figured let's put them all in there. So I'm proposing to increase the instruction expenditure to $11,525,000, which that's going to be all your teachers and associates. Your total support services to $4,659,602, which is going to be all your support. So your nurses, your IT, all those things that support the school. Your non-instructional programs increasing to $797,860, which is going to be your Hawks Nest and preschool programs. And then the total overall expenditures, which this one was a giant increase, but that was because of the refinance of our bonds, which we also got it on the revenue side. So really it's an increase in expenditures, but it was offset by that. So This doesn't change anything with the tax rate. Just want to make sure that that's clear. It's just really realigning the money for the budget.
Anybody have any questions on that? Okay, then we just need a motion.
I move the Board of WG Education approve the 2019-2020 budget amendment as presented to increase the following expenditures in instruction to $11,525,195. Total support services to $4,659,602. Non-instructional programs to $797,860. And the total other expenditures to $6,290,408.
Second.
A motion by Tim, seconded by Troy. We will need a roll call, please. Yes, you're on mute, Luke.
Ashley Brandt,
Yes.
Tim Bogardus,
Yes.
Troy Jansen,
Yes.
David Elliott,
Yes.
Sam Barons.
Yes.
All right, let's talk graduation list.
You bet. We were just talking to Mr. Bollier early last week, and I just think it's a great time to, you've seen this list before. I think it's a great time to just give a shout out to the seniors one more time. I'm really pleased with, I think today was the day they went around with caps and gowns and flowers and yard signs, and Cody was trailing behind them with the camera. It's just trying, adopting the seniors, just trying to make them feel special in this crazy time. So before you is the list of 2020 graduates.
I'm excited to see the footage that he got of that. I'm guessing there were some pretty poignant moments, so excited to see that. Any questions on the graduation list? Okay, we just need a motion to approve.
I move the Woodward Granger Board of Education approve the 2020 graduation list as presented with the expectation that all students have met graduation requirements as determined by the high school counselor, the high school principal, and superintendent of the district.
I'll second.
A motion by Troy, seconded by Dave. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Non-insurance.
So the breakdown insurance, this is the renewal for next year. As you can see, it did go up a little bit. I think for the majority of what we use this for is our computers. Cody and Alex have done a great job of really fixing those. And the nice thing is we do get paid back from breakdown on the hours spent on that. So that is a big benefit for us. And, it also goes for everything else in the district that could possibly, not everything, I shouldn't say everything, but a lot of the stuff that we have, we've been using. Virginia, the high school, puts in a lot of the requests for us. So she keeps a pretty close eye on all of our breakdown stuff besides of the IT stuff. So appreciate that from her. So did go up, which that's based off our usage. And we kind of planned on, we knew this was coming. So that's part of the reason the management fund was increasing through the budget process. So we'd like to keep this. I think it's important. And the money does go back to the general fund on what is recouped. So
For those that are maybe watching that don't have an understanding of what breakdown insurance is, do you just want to give a quick definition?
yeah, so I mean, it's anything that breaks down, really that can be plugged in. So it's like a laptop. Student breaks their laptop, they can bring it to Cody. Cody can fix it. The parts are covered under this. The labor, we get it charged back for those, and we get to recoup that back to the district, and it goes back into our general fund. That includes like the lifts in the buildings, Matt, do you have anything else you can add to this?
I think you've covered it well. I think it's a great strategy is what I would call it, coming out of the management and being able to put it back into the general fund.
I know a year or two ago, we were trying to emphasize more of the structural repairs, air conditioners, et cetera. Have we up to that amount at all, or is it still primary our technology that's using underwriters?
It's primary technology. I was going to get a quote this year for the HVAC, and what they had sent over, I had Dave look at, and they said, well, most of the stuff is this. Most of this, a lot of the stuff is on the do not cover list. So at that point, we decided it's probably not worth it. And I just got it like a few weeks back. So I think that's why we decided to just keep going with what we had.
Well, I'll move that the WG Board of Education approve the renewal of breakdown insurance through specialty underwriters in the amount of $59,876 paid for with the management fund.
I'll second it.
Motion by Dave, seconded by Tim. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Carries. Okay. Talk admin and staff recommendations.
So, and I'll turn it over to Luke, but in your packet is some information that represents hours and hours of work. Luke and I've had a lot of conversations. As you recall, last month, we approved a settlement with the WGEA. These past 2 weeks, Luke and I have been working with the WGSSA and decided today would be a great day to just bring the rest of the recommendations to you. Luke?
Okay, so as you can see, I pushed out what the recommendations were based on what Dr. Adams and I had talked about. Looking at the admin secretaries, some of this stuff is kind of hard to look at just based on some staff changes. But the staff, I guess, Dr. Adams, what do you want me to share specifically on this?
I think they've had an opportunity to review it in your packet. Be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Yeah.
I'll tell you all, I sat down with Luke and Dr. Adams last week, and they kind of talked about their rationale behind some of these decisions. Sounds like they painstakingly put this together to ensure equity and to ensure that we're just doing the right thing by these people. And some of the commitments that we've made over the last couple of years, I think, are represented here.
It meets a lot of the goals that I think we've all had. My only point of nervousness is because of the virus and the federal government not taking care of states. I'm a little concerned about budget cuts facing us. And this proposal does a great job of doing what I've been asking for, which was trying to get down some of the unspent balance. So I'm very happy there. I just wanted to raise that one concern. Nobody can predict, but that's a nervous situation.
There are no promises, but today during the Heartland AEA superintendent meeting, and I'm actually holding my note here, the ISAB, Iowa Association of School Boards, their lobbyists have said that legislators are ready to honor the commitment to funding, and the governor is holding firm on her commitment to funding, and they, quite frankly, they just are not hearing anything that would lead them to believe, across the board kind of cut was coming. Now, that's no guarantee, but that is a question that I think the superintendent group asks 3 times a week, and that's what her response was today when that was asked. So it sounds like it is a conversation, and it sounds like they're standing behind what they've done for schools, but no guarantee.
And I doubt they're ever going to make that promise, right? But it's nice
She-
to know that there's a commitment there.
Yeah, she made then, I'll say, I'll do this in quotes, quote, unless there's a complete meltdown of revenue in the state, unquote.
What about everybody else? Any thoughts or questions?
I'm kind of like Dave. I just don't know where we stand. You know what I mean? It's just so much, every day is so much unknown. But
we do what we can do today. We know what we know today. I think it's a sign from the board that this is something that we want to do, and I'm 100% on board with it. Thanks to Dr. Adams and Luke for, I'm sure it took a ton of time to do this, but definitely needed, and appreciate all the help and work.
I will move that the WG Board of Education approve the administrative and remaining staff negotiations packages for the 2020-2021 school year as presented.
Second.
Motion by Dave, seconded by Sam. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. And really quick before we move on, I'm wondering if we might get some questions around, I think it's the admin secretary line. It shows a 41% increase. Can you just give some insight as to why that increase looks so high? I think board members know, but I just don't want the public to be alarmed reading that.
So yeah, that was, Jill moved off to the director line and down into I added her to the admin secretaries. I mean, she's really kind of in her own group. Just to show you the increases, that's where I put Jill. So
More of a reclassification. It's not a true 41% increase. The funds were just moved from one line to another.
correct.
Okay. Just in case, I didn't want anybody to be alarmed when they saw that. All right. Let me get back to my agenda here, sorry. Okay. So let's move to the authorization to pay bills. Can we talk through that quick?
Do 6E.
Yeah, sorry, my computer is froze on me, so I'm trying to get back to my agenda here. Oh, sorry, we need to go to the WGSSA first. Any questions on that?
Is that 3 year, is that a handbook or is it a contract?
Can you repeat that?
There was a three-year agreement. Is the text of that a staff handbook or is that a contract?
Yeah, most of it's in the handbook.
Okay.
I will tell you, and I think you as a board need to know this before we move on. Very, very appreciative. When we met with TMAC and Jolie, they went on and on about the support that the board has given them over the course of the last several weeks, and just really appreciate and feel valued as part of our district. So you need to know that.
They definitely are valued, so I appreciate hearing that. Sounds like it was a good, smooth negotiation process, so excited about that. Any additional questions or comments around that?
And guys, that attachment is not the correct. That's the actual. Hold on one sec. Let me read what the actual negotiated was. I don't know why that master agreement was. So
I
we,
didn't have an issue with it. I was just surprised to see that.
well, and when you asked that, I was like, 3 years, wait a second. So what we ended up with for the WGSSA, we ended up with a total package of 4.22%. And really what we focused on was we added a lane, which comes down to really we needed to help the employees that have the CDL. So we added a custodian plus lane. So what that means is if you're a custodian with any extra, and right now the extra is the CDL, you get bumped up a class. I mean, you gain kind of like a little bit extra in your pay. The other one was we did increase the bus drivers by $1 through the salary schedule. And that was really, I think, looking at other districts around us. I know bus drivers are very important to the district, and we want to make sure we retain them and make it a little bit more appealing to get those drivers. And then the other lane that was added was just one for Alex, the IT. It was a new position last year, so it was a lane that was added for that. So those were the major changes for the WGSSA.
So is the financial settlement is a 1 year? Are we negotiating again next year, or is it a multi-year?
1 year.
1
Yep.
year, okay.
Apologize for that.
Well, I'll move that the WG Board of Education approve the Woodward Granger Support Staff Association negotiated agreement for the 2020-2021 school year as presented.
Second.
Motion by Dave, seconded by Troy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Tim, did you say yes? You're on mute. I just want to make sure I got you right.
Aye.
You good? Okay. Don't want to put words in your mouth, so just making sure. Now let's talk about the authorization of payroll.
Yeah, so just kind of in sync with what we did last year and the year before. Coming up on the end of the year, it'd be nice to be able to pay some of those basic bills before we get to the board meeting. So just asking for your authorization to do that. Now, if it's, anything concerning or major, I'm sure, that you'll be hearing from Dr. Adams or I, but the day-to-day, we'd like to get the approval to be able to pay those bills.
In case anybody has questions, why is it different in this month versus any other time of the year?
Is our end of year ends July 30th or June 30th, sorry. So we're getting ready to gear up for next year. So we're going to be closing the books. So we want to make sure that we get all the bills in and paid before GAP starts. Once GAP starts, where it's a little bit harder to keep track of this year's bills versus next year bills. So the more we can do now, it makes it a lot cleaner for us moving forward.
I move the WG Board of Education approve to give authority to the business manager to authorize the payments of all bills up to and through June 30th, 2020.
I'll second.
By Sam, seconded by Tim. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Policy. I'm going to kind of drive up this. Matt, do you want to drive kind of any? Make it-
Pause up there. You bet. So 6G, second reading, board policies, obviously that we tabled 4, but those policies, when I brought them to you last month, what you're going to see out of first readings tonight, I'll do strikeout and I'll do additional language per the Iowa Association of School Boards. Tonight, they're all cleaned up, kind of in their final version for your viewing, and they go into immediate implementation following second reading. I don't know if there's any new questions. We kind of talked about these last month.
Yeah, anybody have it before we go into the first reading? Any questions around the second reading of those that we've discussed previously? Then we'll just need a motion to approve.
Are we leaving off that last, that Roman number 4, the 507.2, we're leaving off? Okay. I move the WG Board of Education approve the second reading of board policies 405.2, 408.1, and 411.2.
Second.
Second.
Motion by Sam, seconded by Troy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
So the board policies in front of you tonight for first reading, just to kind of give you a little bit of background, they're all mandatory policies. I kind of plucked what I call the lowest hanging fruit. Most of these just needed updated legal citations, needed the notes to be removed and the footer to be removed. There are a couple of them, I guess I would point out. School day kind of reflects now with the change and the opportunity to have 1,080 hours rather than 180 days, a little tweak in the language when it comes to the number of hours per week and counting parent-teacher conferences as part of that hourly count. I was telling Ashley that in some of our board policies, there's actually 3 different options. And to be real frank, in a lot of our policies, all 3 were still listed. I chose the option, saying like 605.1, I chose the option that gave the most authority to the board. I thought that that was important and a good jump off point for that. Other than that, 501.16, I look updated, stronger definitions of who are considered homeless and then specific steps that we as a school district need to take with that particular subgroup population. So a lot of basically cleanup on these. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
I move the Board of Education approve the first reading policies 103, 103R1, 401.1, 401.10, 407.4, 501.16, 505.6, 507.2.
Tim, we tabled those 2.
What's that?
We tabled 507.2 E1 and E2.
Okay.
So there's-
601.1, 601.2, 602.2, 602.3, 605.1, 605.1 R1, 704.3, and 710.1.
Second.
Motion by Tim, seconded by Sam. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. All right. We're moving on to consent agenda. Who are the bills this month? Anybody?
Troy, did you look over the bills?
Okay. And Troy, anything that stood out or anything worth note?
Nothing stood out. Everything looked kosher.
Looks like we've made some pretty key hires, which is exciting. Sounds like we've got a couple vacancies that we're still looking to fill, but it's exciting that we've gotten out there early and I think picked up some pretty top talent. So that's exciting news. Any other questions or concerns regarding the consent agenda? Okay.
I move that the WG Board of Education approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
By Sam, seconded by Troy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Carries. All right. That was pretty quick, guys. What else is on your mind in this kind of discussion of other matters?
So I did make a commitment to provide an update when I could about the Hawks Nest and the reopening. Friday, as part of the release of the Return to Learn plan, the Department of Ed held a webinar. They talked they said they basically want to talk a little bit about facilities. And to be real frank, they made it very, very clear that schools are closed. School affiliated interscholastics and programming and all that are closed until June 1. So I don't get the sense that we are going to hear about an opportunity to open up anything related to in our brick and mortar schools. I do want to make that clear. I had a great conversation with a parent. When I make a comment like the state says, I'm really referring to the Department of Education rather than any other department within the state. And so the Department of Ed is saying that our schools must remain closed and all facilities and programming need to remain closed at this time.
So Matt, let's say we get news on June 1st and she says, schools are open, free game. What's our stand-up period look like? I mean, do you think we can have kids in there June 2nd? I know that's probably aggressive. Or is there a week? Like, I'm just curious how long you think it'll take to
Jill is standing by and ready. I would guess it's not June 2nd, but I don't think it would take her a week to get going. She's, we all are eager. We want this programming to open. We've got a lot of things going on this summer, whether it be extended year services for kids, a baseball or a summer season for our athletes and the Hawks Nest. Those are all the things that, boy, I'd like to aggressively get after and get ready to go once we get the all clear.
So the answer there is more to come, but hopefully sooner rather than later.
Yeah, that's my hope.
I know that the awards ceremony is going to be virtual on Wednesday. What's our current status on graduation planning?
Well, like I said, I'm pretty excited about what happened today because we talked about really marking the day, marking their graduation date, May 17th. And so what they did today will definitely mark that day. We've had a lot of seniors adopted, through that adoption program. Beautiful yard signs. They were delivered to the central office last week, and they're pretty cool. Caps and gowns went out. And so I think they're going to feel pretty special on May 17th with a video, compliments of Cody's handiwork. That's just for starters. And then, of course, we've got July 19th kind of slated for that face-to-face. 70, I'll just remind you, 75% of the families wanted to do a face-to-face. Talked to a lot of soups today, and they're like, hey, we got a June date and now we got a July date. So I think we did good planning saying, if we can do it on the 19th, we will. And I'm going to use these words. On the 19th, we're going to make it look like as much of a traditional ceremony as we possibly can. I do know that there's some soups that are running up against some county Department of Health as it relates to some June plans. And I think we've got a good plan. I really do. And I think we found a way to honor the kids and make them feel special. And as you said, as I said in my Friday report, I see a lot of people making lemonade out of the lemons that we've been given. So I do appreciate that.
It sounds like some parent groups are working on a potential prom for these kids. Did I hear that right? Mm-hmm. So doing some cool stuff for them, being non-traditional, but I'm hoping they get all these milestones checked off.
And then another positive that just happened this morning, I've got a Monday morning meeting with WGEA, and they brought up today that they want to continue to support potentially the lunch program. Todd Jones et al., Lisa Anderson and Brittany Wilkening have done a tremendous job with the food pantry and the meals. The 18th was kind of slated as the last date. I think some other groups are starting to see some need, and this could be something that we could potentially take on through the summer. So that was kind of exciting to hear an interest and a desire to plug in that way.
That's awesome.
I
Kudos
like
to
that.
them for stepping up. That's great.
Absolutely, absolutely. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Hopefully our next meeting, we can, fingers crossed, be in person.
Hope so.
That'll be a nice change of pace. Anything else for the good of the cause? All right, well then we just need a motion to adjourn.
I move the meeting adjourn at 7:01 PM.
I'll second.
A motion by Tim, seconded by Dave. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, guys.
Everybody be safe out there.
Have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.